Judy, thank you so much for being with us. I know you've worked for many, many years with all ages of people,
Yes.
singles and couples and everyone, on budgeting, why budget's important, how it can help them with their spending, and then how to have the money there to cover all of our spending.
Right, right.
But what would you say that's been maybe the most challenging, or what's changed the most through the years since you started doing this?
Well, the technology really has changed. I mean, in a way, there are more tools available now. I mean, my book called The Budget Kit, I mean, that's been around for decades, and for quite a long time, that was like the one system that really was effective.
This is the book you're referring to.
Yes, and you could track, you could create budgets, you could plan for yearly things. But now there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of free tools out there, a lot of software out there, so that's new. I mean, it's been many years, but it's definitely a shift and a change. And as far as my clients, I'm finding the shift is actually more high-level professionals with more money. I mean, before it used to be people who didn't have a lot of money, but we could still find ways to help them, or I could refer them to resources. But I'm finding a lot of people now who are making very good money, and that seems to be the theme. And the other new thing, the recent thing now, is accountability. People want accountability partners.
I see. So the why would someone want to budget? Are people embarrassed when they come to you and say, I make good money, but it seems like we never have enough?
Well, and that is a theme. That's clearly a theme that's back there for people. And so one of my first questions for people is, you know, having that why. You know, I'll ask them,
Have a why.
Have a why. You know, what triggered your reason for contacting me? What's going on with the budget? And there's a lot of reasons that people suddenly decide, I need a budget, I need to figure this all out. And in some cases, some people just say, I am just frittering money away too much. I'm spending it mindlessly. I need to learn how to manage money better.
They don't know where it's going.
They don't know where it's going, and they want to shift. They want to shift their attitudes, they want to shift their behaviors and patterns, and I help them start to do that and become aware of that.
And I'd like for you to explain what you mean by the windshield view versus the rearview mirror view, and how that applies to budgeting.
It does apply to budgeting. Just recently I've started using that because it's kind of a new approach. Most people are used to tracking their spending, and that's great. They'll send me reams of paper or reams of things I have to download to look at, but that's all rear view mirror information. It's what happened back there. That's the money I spent. But if we really want to get ahead, we want to look forward. We want to anticipate our expenses. We want to be proactive versus reactive, and that means creating some kind of a spending plan, and we'll use the word budget, and that we want to create a budget using the windshield approach. What's it going to be? And that's kind of that whole difference. It's a different kind of approach to think about it and start getting started with, okay, what are those expenses? How do I plan it out, even if I don't know? But it's a way to be more effective in that process.
And I think the fact that this is not just a book to read and then hope you do well with budgeting. There are worksheets in it, and I still think there's a benefit to writing things down. Even if you, like you mentioned, technology, there are lots of types of software, and some probably better than others. But it seems to me like it's earlier if I start with a long sheet of paper that's got columns. I like things organized like that.
And I mean, in the early years, before they even were doing all the brain research now, I somehow knew it was all about sensory, that we needed a lot of sensory input. And by doing it manually, we have the tactile or kinesthetic approach. We have the visual approach. We're watching what we're writing down. Even auditorily, if you're talking to your partner, like, what are we doing? Why are we spending this much money? Look how much we spent on groceries. You're getting a lot of sensory input.
It's an eye-opener.
It is an eye-opener, and that's why manual is satisfying. I knew people who worked on computers all the time. It's like, I come home and I like to write it. I have a preference. So it doesn't, it's like whatever fits you. That's what's really important for that.
And what do you mean by liberation versus deprivation?
Well, when you talk about budgets, I mean, at my workshops, I'll say, what is budget? What's the first thing that comes to your mind with budget? And they'll give me all kinds of answers. But most of the time, it's about deprivation. And so it's a real paradigm shift to get people to look at budgets as liberation. Because I've had clients tell me, I find budgets liberating because they now know where their money's going. Excuse me. They have control over choosing where they want their money to go, and that sense of liberation is so much stronger and satisfying than a sense of deprivation over, well, I can't spend any more money. It's not about that at all.
And there's different types of monthly expenses. We're talking about
Yes.
basically setting up a monthly budget, and maybe let's talk about these, the fixed, the variable, and the occasional, what goes in each category.
Yes, and people sometimes think a budget is so hard, but really it's 3 chunks, the 3 buckets. The first one is the fixed expenses. And that's your fixed, your mortgage, your car payment, your auto insurance, and just the basics that are fixed, but you have the same amount, generally the same date. They're fixed, there's no choice, it's just there. People can put all their fixed bills on the back of an envelope. That's simple, but they think that's their budget. And then say, subtract that from my income. It's like, how come I have so much money left over? They're forgetting the last 2 buckets, the last 2 chunks. The second one is you have more fixed expenses, but they're variable. Groceries are fixed, but they're going to vary. Your utilities will vary. Gasoline will vary. There will be other things that are fixed that will vary. So we want to write that down. You don't know how much the groceries will be, and we want to plan this out for the month coming up. But you estimate, and you fill in the blank for all those categories.
And is it always true that you estimate more?
You can start that
little
way.
bit,
You just estimate more to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
And then the last one, what I call occasional, that one's kind of overlooked by everybody, and that's where people kind of miss out. But what's the rest of your life during a month? Are you going to be having your nails done? Are you going to be having your hair cut? Are your children having haircuts? Do the children have field trips? We have different things.
College?
And your college expenses. What are all the things that are going to be happening? What entertainment? What downloads will you have? What do the pets need? What do the kids need? And just write it all down and have a plan. That's the core function of putting together a budget. There's many other aspects, but if you just did this, you're on a solid start.
It's a start.
And the only, and one other aspect would be preparing for future expenses, being aware of upcoming auto expenses, upcoming holidays, or things like that, and having a plan. But this is where you start. To create a budget.
How do you keep people, how do you get people to stick to the budget?
That's the hard one. That's why
think
you
it would
want to
be.
have a clear why, a clear motivation. Why even bother with all of this? If you've got the money, why bother? There's something. You want to get your debt paid off, you want your child to get through college, you want to start a new business, you want to get a new home. There's something you want, that you really want, that you're willing to adjust your attitude, adjust your behavior, and make it happen. And yeah, it's
I
important.
think having that why statement maybe printed at the top of every page you work
Right,
on, it sort of
right.
motivates you. It's like those positive affirmations people do. But if you can keep the why in mind, I had never thought about that, but that's really it's a goal, and it motivates you to do what you've taught them to do.
And it has to be powerful. It has to be something that you're willing to make shifts, because you are going to be shifting your attitude. You are going to be shifting your behaviors and being more mindful instead of being on autopilot. Because it's real easy and fun to be on autopilot. Just spend when you want to.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Right.
The book is titled The Budget Kit, and the reason it's not just the budget book is because, as we've talked, there are lots of worksheets in the book. There's lots of references. There's examples for different things, and I found it very interesting and very motivating, and like you say, liberating.
Good. And then, those worksheets now that we're in this current 21st century, all of those worksheets are, the core ones are available on Excel on my Money Tracker website. They can get the same worksheet looking just as it is
Just
on
as
Excel.
it is. Good. Thank you very much, Judy. I appreciate you sharing this with us.
Thank you very much.